Okay, so firstly, a little bit of background about Soundtrails and where we began. We started off in 2013 on the back of a small community oral history project in regional New South Wales in a town called Uralla. And we were able to get a small federal heritage grant to build the app initially. And once we started building the stories of one town, we were approached by other communities to build in their stories as well. The idea was that people could walk in and out of stories on the streets, listen to voices, memories, sounds and songs. And it kind of built from there. And it also built based on the experience that I had as a radio documentary maker. So I was pretty keen on making sure that they weren't just fairly flat stories. I was interested in making them more dynamic and more sort of layered. And I guess I had quite a few tools of the trade coming from a radio documentary background. But version 2, Soundtrails, is quite a different ballgame than what we started off with. It's really opening up now to a range of different kind of options, and it's opening up to anyone around the world. To date, most of the Soundtrails, well, all of the Soundtrails that we've built have been commissioned, but now we're opening up to things like licensing systems, white labels, and I think it's a much more dynamic and sort of engaging system. But I also want to point out that while we think the new version Soundtrails is really terrific, we're really happy with kind of where it's sitting, and we want it to be successful. The foundations of Soundtrails have come really with working with people in communities, in communities that I think would otherwise really struggle for their voices, their sounds, their stories to be heard. And we really want these stories to be quite timeless and to survive the test of time and the tyranny of technology. And we're also really passionate about the power that locative audio can have when it comes to connecting us to the world around us, the people, the places, and this whole idea of kind of memory and meaning making as we sort of immerse ourselves in the world around us. So this is the app, how it's looking at the moment. You can see here we've got a menu system. We've got this way, you can look at it, the menu system. You can see the different sound trails there down on the side. And you can see that we've got the proximity to the sound trails. You can see that we've got which sound trails have been downloaded. You can also see if there's any favorites. You can search in the function here. So I'm searching Aboriginal, and you can see we've got a number of sound trails which come up under that. And then down here is the menu system, and this is where we've got, particularly here, we've got a couple of really cool things in here. We've got the sandpit code, and these are codes which we use for coming in on sound trails which are yet unpublished or sharing them with friends. And you can see I've got 2 in there which are in the making. So that's the sandpit code. We've also got a very nice little setting here where you can turn on hidden sound fields. So I've turned that on, turning it off. So that's the menu system. And then I'm just going to come back to the home. Then we've got a sound trail proper. If I start it, that's Nambour, which is just down the road from me. And you can see the sound fields there. And also notice the map. You can see that the map is actually sitting on top of an open street map, and it's lined up pretty much corresponding with the roads and the parks and all that sort of stuff. You can't see here the hidden sound fields because I've got that turned off, but if you could, you would see broader perimeter circles there. I'm just going to click on a story here. We're coming on June Upton. So this is just remote, and this is what people would see if they're out of town and they've downloaded. I can play it remotely here. I can also go between text and the photos. And if you're on location, you can collapse that. You can collapse the sort of the screen here that we're seeing, and you just get that bottom section down there, which is Queens of Nambour. So that's basically how the stories work. You'll also notice too that the story's gone orange once we've started activating it. So that there's 3 colors here with each story. We've got green, which is unplayed. We've got orange once it's been activated, and we've got gray when it's finished. When you're actually on the street and you're in that story and you've played it, if you walk back into that field after the first time, it won't play again because it's finished. But if it's halfway played and you walk back into it, it will finish playing. And there's just also a really nice button here for me, which is refresh, that resets it. And then if I come back in here, you can see everything's reset back to green again. Soundtrails has 3 different portals, and this is the website. This is the website that gives us the public interface with Soundtrails. Probably many of you have seen this before, and you can see here, if I just come into Soundtrails proper, that we've got basically, if you want to start building your own Soundtrails, you've got this button here to come in here. These are examples of different Soundtrails that we've now got operating. And you'll see that there's a certain sort of pro forma for this page. We've got the title, we've got the outline of the Soundtrail, we've got credits and contributors here, we've got a feedback form, we've got photos down the bottom, but this is the map. This is where basically everything happens. And this is pretty much an emulation of what we've got going on from the app itself, where we've got the what we call the standard stories. So if I come in here, this is the same story which we were just looking at before, which is June Upton, the Miss Personality 1957. And you can see you've got images cached in there. What we can't see here is we can't see the background sounds that are cached into the app. This is very useful. This is very useful for teaching, for showcasing kind of the projects that we've got going. And also too, one of the wonderful things is that every single one of these stories has a unique URL. So that means that they can be deployed on social media or used with QR codes on signage. So that's extremely nice in sort of executing a direct contact with that story in various sort of different ways. This is what a finished Soundtrail would look like. And here I'm in Walker, which is down in New South Wales. Now there's a few things to see here. Notice these toggles on the top left and the bottom right. And these basically will pull the map in and out. So the idea is we're bringing a map and we're overlaying it onto OpenStreetMaps. And then we're starting to add a variety of different hotspots, a variety of different sound fields. And you'll notice here on the right that we've got a list of sound fields. And you'll notice that they've got titles on them and they're in different colors. So the different colors represent whether we're making them standard stories, whether they're making them background or instructional. This is the Soundtrails data. So on the website and on the app, you notice that there was both the title, it's the title there, and then you've got the the standard information here. I've also got credits and contributors underneath here. We've got the capacity to use HTML here, some basic HTML here. Notice also we've got landscape images here, which come with the broader sort of Soundtrail. And we've got a map. So that's the map that's then overlaid. So we're importing a map here, and then we're then calibrating that or bringing that onto the OpenStreetMap. And then we've got the hotspots again. If I come into a hotspot, you can see that we've got here, we've got the set as a standard story, as opposed to background or instructional. You can see it's got a title. You can see we've got square images, which we can bring in here. If I want to, I could add description here. And we've got audio, which we upload here. The place we're going to go to make a Soundtrail is called soundtrails.tech. And you can see here, we've got a variety of different Soundtrails. Some of these are published, as you can see, and some of these are not published. You'll also see that a number of them now have codes on them. GTZY, SQIJ, etc., etc., etc. And these are ones which are basically in the making. Let's go and now make a new Soundtrail. So we're going to create a new Soundtrail. We're going to give it a name. I'm going to upload a thumbnail. Home test, so this is the one here. So if I want to, I can add tags here. This is for searching. Remember when we were in the app and we've got that search bar there? So if I want to be able to search this, if I want to have it in France or in Spain or in the South Burnett, I can add tags there. And then we go into Edit Soundtrail. Now I've simply got to come into where I want to put my map. So I'm coming into Nambour, which is my hometown. This is all geolocached, so our map will sit over the top of that. So I'm going to go into Soundtrails data and I'm going to give this a name, aim test, and I'm going to bring in my map, Nambour map, and then I just make sure I've got that format there, and then I save. And then we can see that that map's now sitting on top of the streets of Nambour. And I've now got to line this up. I can see the railway line there. So I give it a descriptor, testing live demo. I then add images. These are the landscape images. I'm going to add 1, 2, 3 images, chuck them in there. Again, resize them. We've got those 3 images. We've got the map in there. We've got a name. And then that's pretty much the general material which we would add into a Soundtrail here. You would obviously put credits and contributors. You would have warnings perhaps on there. And then we into the hotspots. We've got 2 different types of hotspot here. We've got a circle and we've got a polygon. Polygons where if you're going down a street but you don't want it to be really wide with the diameter, you would use something like a polygon. With a circle, circle's nice for background sound. So I'm going to click on the circle and I'm just going to go here. You drag it. If you want to move it, you click on the teardrop and you can move like that. If I want to resize that, I've clicked on and then I can resize it, and you can see it's 126. So I can go 130 and it will just go a bit bigger. If I now want to determine what sort of sound field this is where I determine this here. I would say I'm going to say this one's background. I don't need to add a photograph here because background is invisible. I might label it for myself. Music background sound. So then I would add audio. Okay, the audio's in there. I'll just test it to see if it plays. And now I'll put in a primary story. So this is a polygon. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to add a primary story here. And again, I click on the inside of this box and it brings up the control section. I'm going to make that a standard story. This one I'm going to say is, let's say Bayards. Bayards is a store in Nambour. I'm going to add some images here. Florence and her son from the movie theatre. Okay, so those 3 images are now added in. I will now say I'll give this when you're shopping at Bayards or something. And then I'm going to add some audio. Just have a quick listen. So that's a standard story. If I wanted to bring in a transcript or some sort of annotated summary, I can put that in there. So I'm just going to save that. I'll just add one more, and that will be an instructional piece. So let's say we're at a crossroad. I'm just going to add this, and that will be what we're going to call a instructional cross the road. I don't need an image with that. Cross the road is invisible. I'm going to add, let's see if I can find some sound here. So I'm going to call this instructional, which is to cross the road. And if you look at the advanced properties, what you'll see is that it's not visible. The area display style is not visible, or the audio visual. These are 2 different things here. This is
audio display style is whether the circle or the polygon will appear on the map or not.
Right.
Whereas audio player visible says if the actual player will pop up or if the audio will just play without you seeing the player and having the controls.
Yeah.
An example of something you could do with this, if you made the area display style none, so it was not visible, but you did make the player visible, you'd have a situation where you wouldn't see anything in the map, but if you walked into that area, it would pop up and you could have pictures and text there. So you could create a treasure hunt style app, Soundtrail with that configuration.
Also, guys, notice that it's got a number 5. So what we've done is we've configured these so that with if you just use the settings that we've got, I'm just going to close that. So if you just use the settings we've got, the instructional one will have, if you go into advanced properties, will have number 5. The background audio will have this background audio here. If you go into advanced sections, that's got a number 3. And the primary standard story, if you go into advanced, that's got a number 10. So the way we're configuring it is we're sort of saying to, in terms of algorithms, we're saying the standard story has precedence pretty much over everything. That's a number 10. And then everything from there on down has precedence over anything with a smaller number. So here we've got standard has number 10, then instructional is number 5, and background is number 3. So in other words, if you walk into the background audio, then that will kick up playing. Then you walk into the standard story. The standard story will take over from the background audio. Once that either finishes playing or you walk out of it, the background audio will then kick in again. But this one, the instructional audio, if you walk into that, cross the road, don't get run over, that will then kick in from the background audio.
The advanced properties allows very fine configuration on how the sound fields behave. But every story that's, we've ever done to date is covered off by those 3 presets. So that's probably all that you'll ever need. But there is the ability to fine tune further if there's a specific effect that you want, like the kind of treasure hunt thing I was just talking about.
Now you can see we've got a code, Hamish test N3LC. And I'm going to go into the sandpit, and that is N3LC. Open. And you can see we've got basically what we've just put in there. We've got those photos, which we put in, the landscape photos. We've got the text underneath, and we're going to download the app here. And you can see we've only got the visible file, which is the standard story, which is playing. If we wanted to see the background images, I'm just going to go into settings, and I'm going to turn on the background images. And I'm just going to come into Sandpit, come back in here. I'm going to open that up again, start, and you can see there we've got the background settings showing there.
So I'll go into the same demo one that Hamish has just created, and there's this link here, preview or embed. If I go into this, we've got kind of a web view of what's created. And now the web view doesn't show the hidden ones, but it does. The story is there with the same images and the same audio to view. And what you've got here then is an embed code that you can put into your website. And if I wanted to go and embed the Soundtrail that Hamish has just created onto a page on that website, just put the pure HTML in there. This will work with embedding this part of the URL. Update that. Now this is live on the internet, and we've got the Soundtrail that Hamish just created now. And you can go to that right now, live on the web, what's been created, listen to the story, QR codes on the hotspots. I'll go into an existing Soundtrail. So this works for the standard Soundtrails that are on the website, but we haven't actually implemented this yet for all Soundtrails. With each hotspot, in addition to the standard properties that you have there and the advanced properties, we have this QR code. There's various situations where this is preferable to just GPS. If you were doing an experience in a museum or art gallery, for example, you can come and print this QR code off and have these as the trigger rather than the GPS.
That's kind of a whistle-stop tour basically around the Soundtrails version 2 system.